from the numinous realities to ontological powers and forces, to rectified ideas, sublimated greatness, to notions, to intellect, to the mind, to reified ideas, the vertical aspect of ideation. The horizontal one is composed of biotechno-informational garbage zones, dead zombie bots, replicating ideas, imitating them, and so on. To Plato's cave, to Plato's catacombs, to the swamp in the Plato's catacombs, to virtual reality, to artificial intelligence at the very bottom. Why is metaphysics necessary and always was? Because it ensouls an age that doesn't believe in a soul. It adds humanitas, humaneness, to a time that forgot its humaneness. Now, taking all the metaphysics out, and I'm not talking about metaphysics of Abrahamic kind, any metaphysics at all, reasoned metaphysics, intellectual metaphysics, great metaphysics, Platonic objective ontological realities of powers and forces, walking in the background, co-arising as divinities, divinity with the world. So if we take all of these metaphysics out of the picture, what remains? Well, we can see in the post-structural, postmodern fashions. Naive reductionism, naive materialism, even in its holistic aspect, which is a pretense of trying to aspire to metaphysics, but rationalizing it away anyway. So, people using for example, artificial intelligence to create pseudo art and writings that they wouldn't conjure themselves. This is without a soul. But it justifies people without inspiration, without idea what they're doing, and co-creating this horizontal zombieism. This fraud, this zombie of art, zombie of writing, zombie of everything. Bots co-creating itself. Without the soul removed, everything is justified. From the eugenics to experiments on human beings, do you think ethics will prevent that? To mass killings, to processing matter as if this world will be only material, to any form of genocides, to any form of experiments, utilitarianism, soil and green. People die, you have to feed new people. Why not use the cadavers of theirs in order to mince it and feed it to the poor, right? Now, without metaphysics, the essence of virtues is lost. Without metaphysics, deified qualities that made us humane civilizationally collapse. And in this hubris of the modern day, we may see when the logos collapse, the past logos in the West, what happens? What happens if the logos is compromised? And that happened when the Greco-Roman logos was compromised in high antique, destroyed by Judeo-Christianity. Now the logos of Judeo-Christianity is collapsed by sciences, social and strict sciences, that were completely compatible with the metaphysics of the ancients, for example. So this hubris of post-Judeo-Christian materialism, religious nationalism, is creating monsters. It is exemplifying the apotheosis of the monstrosity of those religions, albeit secularized and renationalized, re-religiosized, without the component of the soul and heart. If you eliminate that, monstrosities emerge. Tartarism, in the Dionysian framework, the bestiality is justified absolutely in every instance. Because there are no coordinates, because there are no referential frames of something higher, something greater, better, ideational, independent ideas as forces, reified ethos, without moralizing. So if we don't have even imaginary psychological reference to metaphysics in any form of spirituality, what is justified is everything that we currently believe in a fashion that is right or wrong, like flags on the wind. Without a monolithic organic understanding of the world, we are shrapnelized, and we justify ethically, morally, materialistically, absolutely every bestiality, every wrongdoing, camouflaging it in the name of what? In the name of the materialistic idea that there is no soul, that there is no heart. And you may call it idealistic, but this idealism, this metaphysical idealism, actually saved civilizations, saved the humane component in humans. Not even speaking about the mysteriosophy or psychagogy of liberating the souls, rectifying them, working on them, perfecting the minds. Why should we perfect the minds? Why should we not dwell on nihilism? Without the component of metaphysics, without any form of ideational, existential metaphysics, the very prime essence of humanity is degutted and laying like a cadaver on the street. A cadaver that I once seen in Mongolia in Ulaanbaatar as I passed by. A dead corpse in the streets. And I could observe it with all the larvae drilling its cadaver. And that's what I think about the society that is deprived of metaphysics, any metaphysics. It is as if a corpse, already rottening, and the only thing that saves is taxidermy, cosmetology. You paint the corpse so it looks nice with your cosmetics, with your beauty apparel, whatever. It's a corpse, a soulless corpse. And as the maggots progress, drilling on the remnants of these collapsed logos, every single maggot feels itself justified to drill on this corpse of humaneness because it has the right to. Because without metaphysics, there are absolutely no things preventing that maggot from drilling the corpse. It's nature, nature's laws. Don't explain metaphysics to a maggot. The maggot acts according to its nature. It drills the corpse, eats it. Yet, humans shouldn't be turned into maggots. Even animals have souls, and in that they have the wisdom pertaining to their nature. But it is what differentiates us, the act of symbolism, homo symbolicus, to conjure worlds perfect and great, beautiful, to envision civilizational values, to incorporate them, not to fall into the disarray of a complete disaster, the bestialization of a human being. And a human being can be worse than a beast, worse than an animal, much worse. Because an animal doesn't transgress its own nature and laws of nature. A human being does. Mechanized, technologized, weaponized. And it goes beyond any borders that nature established, not to mention the ability to discern what may be metaphysically correct, right, realized, illumined. And if we lose both nature from sight, the limits of nature, and the understanding of metaphysics, what remains? An endlessly inflated vice, masquerading, surrogating, matryoshkad as something natural, normalization of violence, normalization of inhumaneness, normalization of decrepit thinking, eating your own children in this chronic affair. Because if you don't take responsibility for future generations, you are devouring your children. You are destroying them as we speak. And the, let's call it, demonism of the modern world, with all due kind regards to the kings of hell as and demons, they are sometimes justice is banished from the land into hells. This infection of the human race, this organic damage, is not irreversible, but it needs to be rebuilt on the ruins. We need to toil like little demiurgoi, like artists, philosophers, writers, engineers, scientists, philosophers, in order to see at this very apex of the great shifts and changes globally what may be saved from the past. What are the greatest values, virtues, achievements in sciences, in arts, in philosophy, in the theologies, mysteriosophies? What may be saved from this onslaught of this naively bestial materialism in order to plant seeds so that a new form, a new architecture, a new organic growth will somehow emerge on the fertilizer of this cadaver. Because otherwise it will be an age of shadows, dead souls. Cyborgs are just dead matter, soulless. You can move a mind or even consciousness into a cyborg. What then? It's soulless. It is extracted from the biological component Bauplan inbuilt in this universe, in this world that emerged as life. Billions of years of evolution. And even if you transfer your minds into such a cyborg, you'd kill your living body and your soul and be a dead replica in the cyborg, thinking that it is a shadow of its former self, believing that it is the identity of itself. Now that's a nightmare. In the age of cyborgization and zombism, be the one that tries to preserve the soul, the spirit, the daimon, the genius, the junona, the hegemon that imposes all the beautiful things, free things, great things, noble things within humanity. Not the one that runs after this transhumanistic, eugenic, utilitarian, technocratic infamy. The world will go on, of course. Perhaps nature will go on. The ontological forces will keep existing. And through gods and goddesses calling the remnants of the human race the last child that will have a soul. But humanity caught in the catacombs of Plato's cave, if it won't act by inspiration, by carrying this hecatic flame forth, it will be the end of human race. And it will die, not with a bang, a great explosion, a world war, but with the whimper of the last child that will recognize those ideas. Because ideas call. And even the greatest slave, the greatest blind man, once he feels the true ontological force of an idea of freedom, is as if called by gods themselves. Thank you.